So today we're going to show you how to do a very simple and easy rhubarb relish. And for a lot of people that may not be that appetizing, but it's your ingredients. It's your ingredients that makes the difference in all your foods. Now rhubarb is a little tart, so we're going to show you how to get rid of that tartness and give you a degree of tartness based on the amount of sugar that you had. We're going to follow the recipe in the beginning. Well, somewhat. We'll show you. The process is basically boiling the rhubarb. Now, when you think of rhubarb, you think of it like a celery. It got that crunch to it. But believe it or not, this recipe is going to show you how to make that into almost like a jam, because you can make rhubarb jam. You usually add like strawberries to the rhubarb and it is amazing because you get that little tartness. You ease up on the sugar just enough to get that tartness, that beautiful strawberries, and that jam is amazing. But in this rhubarb relish, we're going to take away that tartness. We're going to have a beautiful mixture, and it is the texture a lot like jam. And a lot of people use this rhubarb relish on fried potato, on what we call Jig's dinner, which is your boiled potato, turnip, your carrot, your cabbage, some meats, and we call that Jig's dinner. And a lot of times we'll use that on the side and just eat a little bit of it as you're eating your vegetables. So this is a very beautiful and delicious relish. First of all, we're going to boil our 8 cups of rhubarb, homegrown, right in the back garden. This rhubarb, it's actually frozen, so there's going to be a lot of moisture come out of this rhubarb. If you let it thaw a bit, you will have some of that moisture already come out, and you just pour it off. Now, because there's extra moisture in the rhubarb, we might need to thicken our rhubarb relish, and we'll show you at the end how to thicken to get the consistency that you're looking for. It's very simple, very easy. So now we're going to add 4 cups of white vinegar. Now this is going to help preserve our relish with this beautiful vinegar. And it's nothing special, it's just white vinegar. Now we're going to add 8 cups of our white onion. Don't worry, it don't have to be chopped very fine. This is all going to break down during the boiling process. Now we're going to let this boil for about 10 minutes until it starts to soften. And we definitely want our rhubarb to start releasing a lot of those juices, a lot of that liquid, because we want it to boil off as well. Now we're going to get ready to add the sugar because we want this sweetness, we want to get rid of that tartness. So we're going to add 5 cups of brown sugar, half a cup of white sugar. So as the boiling process continues, we add the rest of our spices. We're going to determine the tartness, the level of tartness, and this is something you can do on your own. It's very simple, it's just a taste test. You're going to taste it and determine if that's too tart. Ooh, tart. Then you're going to add a little bit of sugar, just a little bit at a time. Keep stirring, mixing that sugar, and then you're going to keep tasting it until you get the exact tartness that you enjoy, because every recipe is the best recipe. And this one is just one for you to start with. And as you make this beautiful rhubarb relish, you're going to determine yourself the level of tartness of what you consider the best rhubarb relish. When adding the sugar, don't worry about it if it's in clumps. You don't need it fine, you don't need it sifted. Just dump it in, keep stirring. This is a process that you have to keep stirring. You don't want any of this beautiful relish to stick to your pot. And we are using cast iron, the best in the world cast iron. Once that heat gets in the cast iron, gives you that consistent heat all the time. And that's what you're looking for, especially when you're cooking over the wood stove. You want to keep that heat in the pot or in the saucepan. Whatever you're using, cast iron is perfect for that. So for this recipe, we're going to add about 2 tablespoons, and I say always about, it could be a little bit more if you're using a spoon, but 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. We're going to use 1 tablespoon of cloves and 1 tablespoon of allspice. We're also going to add a couple tablespoons of salt and a couple tablespoons of pepper. And again, this is to taste, but we found this combination absolutely perfect. So it's up to you. If you want to start with this, make your preserves, and then decide after if you wanted to add a little more allspice or a little more cloves. You can actually go with 2 and 2 tablespoons of each if you want, but allspice is very strong, same with cloves. We prefer 1 and 1. Now we're gonna let this boil for about an hour and a half. Yeah, this process is gonna take a little bit of time, but basically, we're just about done. Now, during this hour and a half, we're going to taste it and see the tartness. Now, we want it broken down, so it's towards the end that we're going to determine if it's sweet enough or if we need to add more white sugar. Sometimes it could be just another half a cup, but we're not going to put a lot in. We're just going to put in, just sprinkle some in, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons at a time. Mix it, stir it, make sure it's dissolved really well, give it another taste, and go from there. Now, because this is frozen rhubarb, it's going to be a lot more liquid. We're going to keep that cover off a bit, and we're actually going to remove it after a while because we want a lot of that liquid to evaporate. We don't want our relish too runny. We kind of want it thick. Almost like a jam, but not quite. We'll show you the consistency in a moment once it's done. So Mother is getting ready to do the taste test because she's going to determine the tartness. And don't worry about people not liking your jams and your jellies or your relishes or even your beets. And we do have a beautiful video of us pickling beets, and we'll have a link at the end for you. Now, don't worry, like I said, about people not liking your preserves, because your preserves is designed for you, because you change the recipe to the taste that you prefer. So technically, everyone has the perfect recipe, because why would we want something that someone else prefers? If they like a lot of tartness and we don't, it's basically doing preserves that you love. So everyone has the perfect recipe. It's a little too tart for Mother, so she's going to be adding a little bit more sugar, but just a little bit at a time, because we do want that hint of tartness. We don't want to eliminate it altogether. I tell you, the heat from this fire, oh, it burns your legs when you're up close. It's perfect for cooking. We're going to stir this up again. And I think I'm going to leave the cover off. There we go. Get the spoon. Now, Mom keeps saying this is supposed to thicken. It's not very thick right now. So I think by leaving the cover off, we can reduce this quite a bit. Hopefully it'll thicken then. My legs is burning next to that fire. Look how beautiful that is. So this is rhubarb relish. Mom hadn't made it in like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years. So we're just trying a recipe that we got in a very old cookbook. We're going to be doing a lot more relishes in the near future, I believe. We want to do more canning, more bottling. So next year, we're definitely going to be doing a lot more. And we should have our mousse next year, so we'll be bottling a lot of mousse. But that fire is very warm on the legs. Very warm. So I'm just going to leave the cover off for a bit. So I'll stir it up nicely. I want to give it a little taste. Give it a little taste. Oh, that is great. That's very good. Very, very good. Very nice. That is delicious. So our relish isn't to the thickness that we want. So one thing that we're going to do is thicken the relish. And how do we do that? We use some flour in some very warm water. We don't want to use cold water because we're going to bring this relish to a boil. And we're going to slowly add in our thickening. And we call it thickening. It's just flour and very warm water. And we're going to add that in to thicken our relish. And when you slowly add it, you don't want to put all of it in one time. So you slowly add a little bit as it's boiling. You stop pouring and you keep stirring. You got to keep stirring. It's the same as if you're thickening gravy. And if you ever thicken gravy, this is the same process. So when it comes back to a boil again, if it's not to the thickness that you want, you just add more of your thickening, your flour and warm water. And you repeat this process over and over. And you want to keep stirring because it may take 5 minutes before it really thickens up. Now, using a whisk is a wonderful idea, but try not to buy one from the dollar store because this is what could happen. Now we have to go fishing for the whisk. When it comes to the wood stove, we always got to have lots of heat, and that's why my legs was burning. So Mother is going to just add a few chunks to the fire. Now that we finally got the perfect consistency after an hour and a half of boiling, so now we're going to do some bottling, but you make sure that your bottles are actually clean. Even though they may have been store-bought, you still want to wash them in hot water. Make sure they're perfectly clean. Same with your lids. You don't want any dirt whatsoever because that can create bacteria and you don't want to ruin your preserves. So all we're going to do is fill those bottles with our beautiful relish. We're going to bring it to the bottom of the neck on the bottles. Then we're going to add the lids, add it tight, and they will seal. You don't have to put these back in boiling water like we did with our beets, and we'll add that recipe, that video for our beets right at the end. There's nothing better than having your own preserves, especially when you have company over for Sunday dinner and take out a bottle of your own preserves, get them to taste it. They'll be wondering, where did you get this? You'll be able to tell them that you made it. You made it from scratch, and it's beautiful. It's to be able to have your own foods, make your own preserves. It's a great experience, especially enjoying it with family. So just by watching this video, you've seen how simple it is to do your own rhubarb relish. Very easy, very little work. You just gotta cut up your rhubarb into little chunks, your onion, and just your spices. Boil it for an hour and a half. Thicken it if you need be, but it's a very easy and simple process, and something that you can take pride in to enjoy your own preserves. We did some pickled beets last week, and it's right over here, the link. I want you to go check that out, and I want you to tell me what you think of that video along with this video. We love doing these videos, and we want to do more preserves in the future, especially during the winter when we really can't get outside. We really want to be able to give you some wonderful content that you can sit back, relax, and enjoy. And we'll see you in our next video.